We can't look directly at him.
Welcome to the third episode of the Horror Squid Podcast. I am your host, Derek D-Rock. As I usually say, whatever the hell you want to call me. Today, I have with me again, Anthony from the Talking Bull Podcast and the Talking Bull channel on YouTube, where he streams video games. How's it going, Anthony?
Hello. I'm good, man. How you doing?
I'm good. I'm just glad we could finally do this shit after a year. It's been almost a year, Anthony.
Yeah.
Almost a whole
Movies
year
are long.
since we did the last episode. I am awful at this.
We are
awful.
on point. We are on point. It's okay. I'll take Heat too. It's fine. It's fine.
Oh, man. Today, we're going to be talking about a movie called Blair Witch, which is a direct sequel to the Blair Witch Project. It came out in 2016. I was beyond fucking stoked when I heard about this movie. And when I watched the trailer, I was like, I have to go see this movie. I have to be there. I love the first one. And that's what we're going to talk about today. I'm excited to hear what Anthony has to talk about it, what he has to say about it, and all that other fun stuff. Before we get into it, you been up to anything, man?
Not much, man. Just gaming. Doing nothing, really. Actually, I did for the sake of just your channel in general. Let's just say I watched all 4 Screams.
Oh, all 4 Scream movies?
Yeah, I did that at one point because Kind of Funny was talking about them. I was like, man, I want to watch them. And yeah, I realized that I hadn't. I don't remember Scream 4, so when I watched it, it was like watching it for the first time. It was cool.
Nice, dude. That's probably how it's going to be whenever I go back to watch them. Because I don't remember anything from them other than, like a few key scenes from the first movie. But other than that, I think I remember one or two things from the sequel, but yeah, I don't remember shit.
One is pretty entrenched for me, and then 2 I kind of remember, 3 I kind of remember, and then 4, yeah, like I said, I completely fucking forgot anything about that movie.
Oh damn, yeah, it's been eons since I've watched them. Like, it's been a very long time.
Highly recommend.
Dope. Well,
yeah.
I guess I know what we're gonna be watching on some upcoming episodes. I'm sure.
Hell yeah.
I believe Curly said that he wanted to do that one with us. I think so.
I'm down.
I'll have to talk to him about it. I don't remember for sure. But
sounds great.
But yeah, that's cool, man. I haven't been up to much myself. Just kind of, living life, working, being a dad, procrastinating, not doing the things that I want to do.
The procrastination thing, I understand that completely.
Yeah. Fun stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, well, you want to get into this?
Yeah, man, let's do it.
All right, dope. All right, so like I said, we're going to be talking about Blair Witch, which came out in 2016. It is a direct sequel to the Blair Witch Project. It is directed by Adam Wingard and written by Simon Barrett. Both of them worked on one of the short films in the found footage movie VHS, which I want to do for this channel because we've got VHS 1, VHS 2, VHS 3, and VHS 4 is coming out next month on Shudder. So I think I'm going to get my subscription back to that. It's only like $4. Got a bunch of horror movies, but I'm excited. Have you ever seen the VHS movies?
No, and when I was reading about this, I was like, what are these movies? And I was like, you know what? Let's not look at them, and maybe I'll just watch them later if we ever do them.
No, we are definitely going to do those. If you're into that,
right.
I am down.
Yeah, man, I'll definitely watch them for sure.
Awesome, because I don't know if I mentioned. I'm sure I mentioned this on the last episode. A whole damn year ago. I am a huge fan of found footage movies. Like, give me anything found footage for the most part. I mean, some stuff.
As long as
you watch the trailer, I'm
like,
decent,
cool. I'm good. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, for the most part, like, I'm down for any of it. But it's oddly enough, like, for such a simple concept, it's very, very hard to pull off. You have to do it just right.
Exactly.
But
and it's weird because, like, there was such a saturated market for it, and then it just died.
Yeah. So whenever any spawn up now, I usually get pretty intrigued. Yeah, man, I'm looking forward to watching that. So the synopsis of this movie, I'm reading right off of IMDb, as I usually do.
Yeah.
After discovering a video showing what he believes to be his vanished sister Heather, James and a group of friends head to the forest believed to be inhabited by the Blair Witch. So this movie basically takes place, I think, 15, 16 years later after the original Blair Witch movie. And it starts off with like a guy, watching some video that he found on YouTube that claims to be from the Black Hill Woods? Yeah, in Burkittsville. And it turns out that, it's Heather from the first movie's younger brother who's been looking for her since then and still believes that she's still alive out there for whatever fucking reason. I mean, that doesn't make any sense to me. But
can we just talk about how dumb this guy is?
Yeah, but
come on, man. I get it. Your sister disappeared when you were young, and you were like, "Oh, this might be her." Bro, you know where she was. You know what the legends are. And you're like, she disappears without a trace. Without a trace. And you find this tiny little YouTube clip from this random guy, and you're like, I must go investigate.
Exactly.
Bro, my reaction would be, yeah, I'm good. I get it, but I'm good, because there's no way in hell I'm going out there.
I mean...
No way.
I mean, like, completely understandable. But if someone uploads that and finds that, I'd be more, it'd be more along the lines for me to go to the authorities or go to somebody and be like, hey, this tape came up. Like, like there's more footage of my sister that hasn't been found. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Also, there's this creepy guy that found it. Can we go talk to him first? And then they talk to him. And I would have been like, I'm out. Even more. Because the guy they go meet is sketchy as fuck.
The whole thing is. But we'll get to that part. We'll get to that part in a minute. So he's watching the video, of supposedly, that some guy found in the woods where his sister went missing, and all that other fun stuff. And he's being filmed by, I think, his friend, who's making a documentary about him looking for his sister, and I guess about the whole situation from the first movie. Pretty much she's making this documentary. They're planning on going to the woods to see if he can go find out what happened to his sister, or to find his sister, because he still believes she's alive after 15 years, which we just said doesn't make any fucking sense, but going back out there makes sense.
This time they went out there prepared, man. They had a drone, they had walkie-talkies, they got high-tech equipment. They were smart this time. Like in the first movie, they're just like, let's do this. We're going out here with a handheld. These guys were like, let's go out there with tech. We're smart. We got a drone. We're going to do this. Personally, I would have taken a gun, but,
in their defense, in the 90s, it was all... like folklore, made up stuff, so they're just going out to make a documentary. They had no idea of what could have been out there.
But they took a map, dude. In the first one, they didn't even take a GPS, which I know they had back then. They didn't take a compass. They took shit.
Yeah. Well, I thought she did have a compass, but the compass wasn't working or she lost it.
Oh, yeah. You know what? You're right, yeah. But they took a map.
But it was the 90s, and they didn't really have access to all the stuff that we have now. But yeah, in this one, him and his group of friends, they go all out there. They plan on meeting the guy that found the video. And before they leave to go meet up with him, they show off all the cameras, which are like the earpiece cameras that they have. They look like Bluetooth headsets, but they have, a camera on them. And then they have...
those are pretty cool.
They have the drone, and then they have like the little DSLR kind of camera that the main chick uses. They have their walkie-talkies, GPS, all this shit, ready to go, like Anthony said. So they go off on their trek, head out to Maryland. Do we know where they're coming from?
You know what? I honestly don't remember where they're going. I don't think they traveled far, though.
Okay.
Because it didn't seem like they traveled far.
Well, wherever they came from, they drove to Maryland to meet up with the guy who found the video, who claimed he found it in the woods. They pull up to some like shithole house in the woods somewhere.
House,
yeah. They go inside, and there's this giant. They're already feeling weary about this because the guy seems super sketchy. They get inside.
Oh yeah.
there's a giant rebel flag on the wall. And keep in mind, Peter and Ashley are both black. And they just kind of glance at each other like, what the fuck? Like, where are we? Can we get the fuck out of here?
It was one of those, like, it didn't have to be there, but because it's there, it just adds to, like, the weirdness that is Lane and Talia. Like, it just adds so much character to them. Not even being, like, any sort of anything, but just the slightest off-putting to them. It adds more of that ambiance to, like, these are two weird as shit individuals who have all this crap and then this.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like that aspect. It was just like, it's a little nod to their weirdness.
Yeah. After they're talking to them and stuff, the two people ask, can we go with you? And they want to tag along and go stay out in the woods with them. And Peter's very, like, off, but like, no, I don't want to go stay out here with these random people. Like, we can't go with them. So
Peter's like, no. Like, just straight up, no.
So they go outside and they talk about it. End up just kind of like, they just give in and let them go with them. And so they head off to the woods and they start to set up camp for the night. Did they go through the water before they set up camp the first night?
Yeah, there's a little discussion about, like, locking up their vehicles, and they're like, oh, don't worry about it, no one's going to do anything. And I'm like, okay, red flag number 1. And then, yeah, they get up to that creek, and as they're going towards the creek to set up for the night, Lane starts telling them about the legend of the Blair Witch and whatnot, and, like, all the stuff that happens there. With regards to, like, her, and they actually add, like, a bit more lore to the Blair Witch of, like, how she was killed and stuff.
Okay, yeah. Because they talk about how she wasn't just, like, tied to a tree and left. She had weights put on her, and, you know, like, on her arms and legs, which, you know, presumably would, like, stretch a person out or something.
Yeah, if you've ever seen, like, the imagery of, like, the sticks in the Blair Witch with the twigs, it looks like that. Like, yeah, they strung her up and stretched her with rocks and shit. And I'm just like, damn, you guys are messed up. And then also talks about, I can't remember the guy's name, but the guy's whose house that is that they find in the first one, right?
Shit. Rustin Parr. Rustin Parr? It's Rustin Parr.
The dude's,
yes.
That dude's name? Yeah, how he, like, took the kids all up there and killed them one by one, but had them stand in the corner and not see each other when they kill him. Type of deal. Yeah,
that's the guy. So they go through that, and, you know, they go to sleep and everything, and then the next morning they wake up. They
get woken up in the night, right?
No, it's the creek first. They go to the creek first.
Yeah, they go to the creek, and then they Ashley cuts her foot like an idiot.
Yeah,
some rocks.
Yeah. She's walking through, and you hear, like, this. You hear her scream. She cuts her foot. James is a paramedic, which they kind of gloss over at the beginning of the movie, and he patches her foot up, bandages it, and everything. And, you know, they go about their business and set up camp at another place. And while they're sleeping, James gets woken up by a very loud noise in the woods, like something like.
It's hilarious because on here it says a low rumbling and a loud snapping of sticks. No person who wrote this, it was not a low rumbling. It was loud as all hell. Whatever happened scared the crap out of me because I was expecting, like, you know, the snapping of twigs, the little, like, brushes against the tent and shit like that. I was not expecting what sounded like someone took the tree stump and, like, threw it beside them.
That's one thing this movie does very well is, like, their sound effects, and very, very, very jarring a lot of the time.
Oh yeah, they're great. Like, whoever did the sound for this, just A+, sir, A+.
Yeah. So he's freaking out. He's freaking out trying to figure out what the noise is. Lisa runs into his tent, hearing the same thing, and Talia peeks her head outside the tent and says that Lane's missing.
And I would have been like, goodbye, Lane.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And they're like, well, we got to, you know, James gets out and is going to go find him, and Talia goes with him. And I'm like, while watching that,
I would have been like, I got Lisa in here. Like, we're good.
I'm like, fuck you. I hear strange noises. I am not going to go walk in the middle of nowhere. Again, I want to reiterate, I wouldn't be out there to begin with.
Oh, honestly, they'd be like, hey, you want to go to the woods? I'd be like, no.
No, thank you. Especially not those woods. So
especially after Lane explained it in the morning, I would have been like, goodbye, sir. I'm going home.
So James and Talia go off into the woods looking for Lane. They eventually find him wandering around looking nervous after hearing the noises. And you know,
he's just chilling out in the woods. Like, he's just like, it's scary, it's alright, I'm nervous, I'm alright. Creepy ass dude. Like, just straight up creepy.
Yeah, his thing is, I heard the noises, I went to go look for it. No, fuck that. I'm gonna go find the tent and get back inside of it.
I'm underneath my covers, not looking until I see daylight.
Exactly.
Like,
fuck that.
First of all, if I'm dumb enough to come out of these woods, I am not getting out of my tent.
Exactly.
This bitch can toss me into the next nether realm, and I'm still like, I'm in my tent.
I'm okay. It's like that picture of the dog sitting at the table and everything's burning. Everything's
on fire. I'm just in my tent. She's throwing it to Timbuktu. I'm like, I'm good. It looks like that scene when Jason's smashing the counselors against the tree in Jason X. I'm just like, I'm good.
Oh my god. I forgot about that.
That's my deep cut.
Oh man. Right, so after they get back, they find Lane, they go back to the tents, they go back to sleep for the night. In the morning, they wake up and they realize that they've slept until 2 p.m. in the afternoon. They're like, how the hell did we sleep to 2 in the afternoon? It makes no sense.
I don't know if you've ever gone camping, but I've slept till 2 in the afternoon, but I was drunk. There's a difference.
When they get out their tent, they find that the their campsite is littered with the stick figures. If I went to sleep, woke up and saw that, I'd be like, fuck you, fuck this, we're getting out of here, I'm leaving.
Well, to their credit, they accuse Lane and Talia of doing it, and then they're like, let's fucking go. Let's go.
Yeah, that's true.
The one smart thing they did. We heard loud-ass scary noises, now there's stick things, let's vamonos muchacho.
Yeah, so after they accuse them of it and stuff, they decide to leave and try to head home. They go walking through the forest until they realize they've walked a circle back to their campsite. Lane then admits that he was never out in the area as he had claimed, and he and Talia faked the footage that they found. That's wrong. They didn't say that. As they're walking through and they loop around...
No, he said he's never been out this far, and then they find the twigs and the sticks in his bag.
Yeah, they find this. We're reading the synopsis off IMDb. I have no idea who wrote this.
And it's
bear
wrong.
With us. Yeah,
they
that's
did not
wrong.
fake the footage. Yeah, Lisa sees the stuff in his bag.
Yeah, and pulls it out. What's this? Doesn't this look familiar? And he's like,
because they did fake it the first night.
Yeah, they faked the twigs and everything the first night, and they just, their excuse was that we just wanted you to believe. We wanted someone to believe that there is something out here in the woods.
Yeah.
You know, they really did find the tape and all this other stuff, and they basically make him leave, and Peter kind of lashes at him, and
and rightfully so.
Yeah, basically chases them off into the woods, tell them
he almost kills them, and I'm like, get him.
So they ditch them and stuff, and Lane keeps trying to come back to try to look, guys, come on, look, we don't know where we're going, you know.
Yeah.
We don't have. Oh, that's right. No, right before all this, the GPS. They realize Lane admits that he doesn't have the GPS.
Yeah.
Or a map how to get up. That's okay. After finding finding the rope and shit, the twine, then he admits that he doesn't have a GPS or a map, or that he's even been out to that part of the place.
The farthest they've ever been is that fence.
Yeah. So that's when Peter freaks out and tells them to get the fuck out of there and chases them off in the woods. So they're all kind of distraught.
And poor Talia's just like, I don't want to go with Lane, but I don't really have a choice. Like, you see her just kind of stand there. She gives them that look like, can I stay with you guys? And they're all like, no. Weirdo, go with your weirdo boyfriend.
Exactly. So they run them off in the woods. They leave, and the rest of the group decide to, all right, we're gonna get the fuck out of here. We're gonna head home. So they start walking, and they've been walking for hours.
Yeah.
Lisa at one point turns around and goes, "This looks familiar," and they're like, "How does this look familiar? It's all trees." She's like, "No, this looks familiar." And James is leading the group, and when it cuts to his point of view, they're back at their camp where they're at the beginning of the movie. And they all start to freak out and panic, and it's like, what the fuck? We lost the day. We find out that we're in the woods with these people who don't know where they're going, and now we've circled back around. So
to their credit, they also don't flip out on each other. She's like, "Are you reading it wrong?" They look at it. They turn out as he's reading it right. I did like that aspect of it. Like they didn't immediately like turn on each other, like in the first movie with the map.
Yeah, that's true. But I mean, granted, they all know each other very well. Rather than the first movie, they were just random people that that were grouped together. This one they're friends, so it's like they're not going to hold that kind of stuff over them.
Yeah, I like that aspect a little better of like, okay, well, now we're kind of in this predicament. What do we do now? Spoilers, you're fucked.
Once they get back to the camp, they set off the drone to fly it up to look at the area. And when they get up there, they're like, I don't see anything. I don't see the river. There's nothing around. It's just trees.
Bro, I'd be terrified.
Yeah, I'd be like,
there's supposed to be something on the other sides of these things. Like, straight up, there's supposed to be roads and a creek and some shit. You fly up there, you see nothing. I'd be like, wow, shit.
Yeah,
we did.
So they land the drone. They set up camp for the night again, I think.
Well, I should point out, while this is going on, Ashley's foot has gotten progressively worse. Like, from all that walking and crap.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So they're tending to her foot, and I forgot, this is the part where the drone falls out of the sky. Like, she loses, control of it, and falls, crashes, gets into a tree, and stuff.
It eats itself into a tree. And they're just like, well, I guess it lives there now.
So, that's right. Ashley's foot is hurt too much to keep walking, so they decide to set up camp for the night.
And they look at her foot.
Yeah, so it cuts to Peter and Ashley's camera, and they're inside the tent, and you're seeing it from Ashley's point of view, and she's looking at Peter, and Peter's like, look, it's going to be fine, we're going to unwrap this, let's just see, and as he's taking it off, you could just see that it is infected. It is disgusting. And
apparently something moves in it.
Leaves? Oh, no.
Moves.
Yeah, so, he's looking at it, and all of a sudden you just see it, the bottom of her foot just kind of thump, like a muscle spasm, or something's in there.
Oh my god, it freaked me out, dude. I was like, is there something in her foot? Like, what the hell?
Oh my god, when I saw that, I was like, oh my god, I forgot this happens. It's so gross.
That scared me more than the Blair Witch out there, man. There's nothing worse than having some random ass thing crawling in your cut. Like, what the hell?
Exactly. So, he's like, look, everything's gonna be fine. I'm gonna go get Peter. I'm gonna go get James, and I'll be back. Just lay down.
Yeah,
so,
it's cool. There's nothing wrong. Everything's fine. Dog on fire in room.
And he goes out. He goes out to talk to Peter, and I think they talk about some stuff. They talk about what it could be, and I don't remember what happens after that. I think that don't they start hearing noises in the woods or something?
Yeah, they start hearing some stuff out in the woods, like crackling of people stepping on twigs and shit. It's starting to get louder. So Peter, in all his infinite wisdom's like, well, I'm gonna go walk around and listen for noises and see if I can venture out and hear them, instead of staying in the immediate vicinity where there's fire and more people. And then a tree falls on him.
Oh, I know what it was. She said she was cold. He said he's gonna go get a fire started for her. Go see if Peter can not Peter, see if James can get the fire going. He goes out for firewood. He's like, no, I'm fine. Right, I'll go get it myself. Yeah, okay. You have some crazy shit happening, and you're gonna go into the woods by yourself. It's so fucking stupid. It's so stupid. Don't.
And then he gets lost. He's like, oh, I don't know where I went. I'm like, walk in a straight line and turn around. That's what you do. That's just basic 101 of not dying in the woods. Don't start zigzagging venturing, especially in an area you have never been to before, where the night before some random shit happened.
Exactly. Don't go out that far in general. Yeah. So he's out there wandering around, picking up sticks and shit. And his camera starts to freak out, starts blinking, and he starts hearing weird fucking noises in the woods, and he gets freaked out. So he starts running. I think he just drops the stick, says fuck it, and he starts running back to the camp.
Yeah, he does. He was like, nope.
He hears a lot of the noises, and he can't find his way back to the camp, and then he hears a loud cracking noise. And then he turns around and looks up, and there's a 50-foot fucking tree falls on this man.
He's like, oh, hi. Clink.
And he's laying on the ground. You see it from his point of view. You hear something giant moving around him. And I don't remember if he was yelling for help or not. But anyway, whatever this thing is, grabs his ass and just drags him off. And then his camera cuts off.
Just yanks him. Like, just grabs him and he's gone. You're like, well, he's dead. Goodbye, sir.
Yeah. Later on, do they hear him yelling in the woods?
No, they don't hear him. Nobody hears a thing.
Okay. But later on, I think they realize he's been gone for a while, and James goes looking into the woods for Peter with his flashlight.
Yeah, another genius.
And while trying to look for him with the walkie-talkie, like he couldn't get in touch with the walkie-talkie. That's what it was.
Yeah.
Couldn't get in touch with him with the walkie-talkie, so he went looking for him in the woods.
Yeah, because the walkie was getting feedback, I believe.
Yeah. Oh no, him and Lisa both go out. That's what it was. Anyway, they go back out and they go in the woods looking for Peter. But Lisa finds Lane and Talia in the woods.
Oh
and
my
God! They are freaked out. They look like they have been through shit. They look.
Oh
like
my God! They have seen
some
some shit, man.
Because you know why? Because apparently they've been in the woods for 5 days. And they asked Lisa, and Peter was like, when was the last time you saw us? And they're like, we saw you this afternoon. He's like, no. Lane's like, no, we got to go. We got to get out of here, Talia. This isn't them. This isn't real. We've been out here for 5 days. All this. And you're just like, well, watch. Like, what the fuck? 5 days? It's only been a few hours since the afternoon.
Oh, my God. That was freaky. Because, like, you're like, what the? Yeah. He's like, it's been 5 days. And you're like, pardon? Because you look like you've seen some shit, sir. Yeah, and they haven't eaten or anything. Like, yeah, they're in a bad. Like, you felt bad for the first time in this entire movie. You're like, well, damn.
Yeah, and like Talia wants something to eat, and I think Lisa gives her something, like throws her something, and she goes to eat it. Lane freaks out. It's like, no, fine, you can stay. So she ends up staying with him. Lane fucks off and disappears back into the woods.
I thought they both stayed.
No, Lane fucks off because she's there by herself. I want to say the next day, I mean, they go to sleep that night, you know, still can't find Peter. They go to sleep. An alarm goes off, and Lisa's just kind of like, huh, that's weird. I set an alarm for 7 a.m., and it's still dark outside. And she's like, I don't understand. And James is,
we're not in daylight savings time.
Yeah. and James is just like, what? And it don't make any sense. So they get out the tent. And when they get out the tent, there's even more stick figures hanging. I mean, there's giant ones made out of logs.
And there's big ones. Yeah, there's giant ass ones.
And there's rock piles like from the first movie all around. At this point, Ashley gets out her tent, like wondering where Peter is. He's not back yet. And then she sees Talia, and she's like, "What are you doing here?"
She freaks out. Like, she just
freaks,
straight up freaks
out on her about that, you know, Peter's gone, and, you know, why is Talia back? Where are all these sticks and these rocks coming from? And I want to say Ashley knocks one over, or Lisa knocks one over.
No, Ashley grabbed one and straight up was like, "What is this? I don't need this shit," and breaks it in half.
No. I'm talking about the rocks. The rocks on the ground.
Oh, yeah.
And so Talia's freaking out. She's looking around, and she sees on one of the hanging sticks, it's got her hair in it.
Oh, yeah.
And she's like, oh my God, this is my hair, blah, blah, blah. And then Ashley gets pissed, is like, no, we know this is you. And she snatches one out of the tree, the one with Talia's hair, and she snaps it. And when she snaps the fucking stick figure, Talia's body just snaps in half backwards. And she's
oh my God, it was like fucking terrifying. He's like, you didn't expect that.
It is one of the... when that happened the first time I saw it, man, I was like, what the fuck? Like, it is insane. And
because it comes out of left field, and it's so, like, it's so not jarring. Like bloody graphic, it's just graphic.
Yeah, it's just like, holy fucking shit. What the fuck?
Because up until this point, like, you saw the first one, they get dragged away, they get beat up, they get hit or whatever, right? And even Peter, like 10 minutes ago, got hit by a giant ass log and dragged away. So you're like, okay, cool, you kind of expect this. But then that happens to her, and you're just like, well, shit. She is not coming back from that.
Yeah.
It was yeah.
It leads more into like the witch kind of voodoo shit, you know.
Yeah. The witch was like, you know what? It's been 20 years. I'm gonna up my game.
Yeah. Shit's just been, it is just wild, man. Absolutely wild. Anyway, so after that happens, they
have the natural reaction to freak the fuck out.
They freak out and they run. They run into the woods. No, because they hear some crazy shit happen after that happens.
Oh, this is when the tent gets yeeted into the next century.
So after her body snaps in half and she's laying on the ground dying, they hear crazy noises in the woods. They're freaking out. Then, like he said, the fucking tent just gets yeeted. It's just gone. Just gets launched to the air.
And now if I'm there, I'm still in the tent. So I'm gone. Because like I said, I'm not getting out of that tent for any reason. So who knows where I went?
Yeah. So they're freaking out. They're running into the woods, and all the tents as they're running.
They all run in different directions too.
No.
Like just.
They ran together, I thought, and then they get separated.
I thought they all just were like, bye, I'm going this way.
Or maybe. I don't remember. I think somehow they get separated, but like... No, Ashley ran off by herself, and then Lisa and James running after her. And as they're running
I would have been like, bye, I'm staying here.
Flying in the air and shit. They get separated.
They finally find each other. Right?
Yeah, Lisa and James find each other. Yeah. But it cuts to not Lisa. Fuck, I'm so confused with these names. Ashley, she's by herself, and she sees the
drone up in the tree.
No, before she sees the drone in the tree, she's sitting down on the log trying to catch her breath and stuff, and somehow her leg is now hurt really bad. Her pants leg is really bloody.
Oh yeah, it's like working its way up her leg.
Yeah, so she pulls up her pants leg, and she's got like a gash in her leg, and she like shakingly touches it, and it just starts pussing, like disgusting.
Why would you touch it?
I was like, oh my god!
Like you see this, you're like, oh, I'm gonna touch this, and then she takes something out of it.
She pulls something out of it. It turns out I had to look it up because I was curious what it was. It was a root, just like a tree root, just like.
That's what they're saying, but it did not look like that shit moved.
Yeah, that's what I saw.
That straight up moved.
She pulls it out, and her leg's pussing. It is disgusting.
Yeah. Oh my god, it's nasty.
So she puts her pants leg down and stuff, and she's out in the woods by herself looking for everyone, and then she sees the drone still in the tree.
And then she has the best eureka moment ever for someone with one leg.
Yeah. I have a fucked up leg and foot. I'm going to climb this tree. Oh, no. She pulls out her phone, and she tries to link her phone up to it, and it's stuck in the tree, so she's like...
And her phone is already smashed, by the way, when she takes it out of her pocket.
Yeah. So she's like, I'm going to climb up this tree and get the drone out. So she climbs up the tree, and it's like this kind of intense moment because you're seeing it from her point of view. Then it clicks to the drone's point of view once she gets up there.
Yeah. But like the whole time, I'm like, something's going to happen. Like she's just falling out of this tree. The Blair Witch isn't even going to kill her. Her own stupidity of climbing a tree with one leg is going to kill her.
Yeah. And as she gets up there, you hear the blades like trying to spin, trying to take off.
Yeah.
And she's reaching out for it.
Or I'm like, she's going to cut off a finger.
So, as she's reaching for it, I think her hand touches the camera, but as she touches the camera, something's in the tree and just fucking pushes her. Pushes her out of the tree. She hits the ground. The
Blair Witch at this point is just petty.
Yeah.
She's just like, this is my tree, get out, and shoves her down. And you don't even get a good look at who it is or what it is, right? It just shoves her out of the tree. Yep. I'm like, that's just mean.
Pushes her out of the tree, she falls and hits the ground, and I assume she dies, or she's knocked out.
No, she was alive, and then she gets yeeted away too.
Yeah, she gets pulled away.
Yeah.
And then the camera switches to James and Lisa, and they hear Ashley screaming, and they start, I guess, running into the direction of where she's at, where they hear her screaming, and it starts pouring rain on them. Lightning striking around them, just it's fucking chaos all of a sudden.
It's awesome, though. It is so awesome, though. Just them running in the rain. It's great. They're hearing screams. They're trying to figure out what's going on. Lisa's freaking the hell out, and rightfully so.
Yeah. So they're running around. They still have their Bluetooth cameras on, and that's the point of view we're seeing. And they get to a house, which turns out to be the same house from the footage that James believed was Heather.
Yeah, it's the first house. Like, it's from the first movie, the first house. It's
yeah.
What the guys whose name I can't remember.
Rustin Parr.
Rustin Parr.
Yeah. What a
it's
weird fucking name. But yeah, it's the house from the first movie. So they run up to it, and he wants to go inside, and
Lisa has a shred of intelligence.
She's like, "No, I don't want to go in there. We can't go in there." He looks up into the house, into the window, and you see a light run past the window, like a person with a camera and a light.
Yeah.
Run past, and he's like, "That's Heather. I gotta go get my sister." Which, again, it's been 20 fucking years, bro. That's not your sister. What are you doing?
Yeah.
So she's like, "James, no, you can't do it." And he's like, "I gotta go." So he runs into the house. So you see it from his point of view.
And she's just like, "Bye."
Running through this house that is like an exact replica from the first movie.
There's handprints on the wall. It's terrifying.
So fun fact about this house was rebuilt from photos of fans who went to the original house before it was knocked down. So they rebuilt
from people going into the house.
Yeah. Well, it's because it was on some farm. It was on a guy's farm, I think, or something like that, and he got tired of people, like going on his property, going to this house. So they end up.
Honestly, I don't blame him. I hate people like that. Don't be doing shit like that, where they're just like something happens in some random place and house, and everyone has to go take a photo.
Yeah, he's running to the house. He's going. I think he starts to go downstairs to the basement.
Yeah, and then he thinks he sees her and he runs up.
Yeah, he sees her, and then he runs upstairs and he goes inside of a bedroom. Which this whole scene was so fucking stressful. Just like him looking around, and then like the whole like peering under the bed.
I was like, is the Blair Witch just under the bed? Because that would have scared the shit out of me.
Definitely.
Like he goes, like here's some stuff. He shuts the door, and then he goes and like peeks underneath. And I'm like, if she's under there, man, I would just straight up punch her. Like, you got to do something.
Yeah. So throughout the whole time of him in the house, he's hearing things follow him and chase him, though, I think. So anyway, he ends up in this room. Some crazy shit happens. He turns around, and there's suddenly like a figure coming at him behind him, and then the lightning flashes. It goes black, and it comes back on, and she's gone.
Yeah.
And I want to say he goes to leave the room, and then something hits him, knocks him out. I don't really know what happened. Something happens to him, and then it cuts to Lisa outside. And she's outside panicking, crying, upset and stuff. Is she either yelling for James or... I don't know. Something happens. So
yeah, she's just standing outside chilling and like yelling and freaking out because Dipstick went outside and left her there.
And she hears a weird noise in the woods, and when she looks over, you see the figure, this elongated, creepy figure. Oh, that's what Peter ran from.
Was it creepy?
That's what Peter ran from earlier in the movie when he was looking for the woods, for the sticks. He saw it, but anyway.
Spoiler: it's not the Blair Witch.
Yeah, but
which is equally terrifying.
It's just this elongated, creepy fucking thing, and she freaks out and runs into the house looking for Peter. She's running around looking for him. I think she runs downstairs to the basement because that's where you want to go. I just don't understand. Like, they run into this house. Like, I would fuck no. Fuck, I hate walking around my own house in the dark. Like, fuck that.
I would have went and met up with the creepy monster dude.
So she runs into the house. She sees a figure moving. She sees something in the house moving around. She's running around looking for James, and she ends up running into Lane, who appears. He looks scruffy, like he's been there for years. Like,
oh yeah,
like he's been there for so long. And he's freaking out. And he's going on a rant about you have to do what she tells you. You have to do what she tells you to do, and knocks Lisa the fuck out, and then it switched to his camera that he still has with him for whatever reason, and he takes her body and throws her into like this hole in the ground that has like a lid over it. She ends up waking up down there, and this shit is so claustrophobic.
Oh my god, I hate this crap. Yeah, she's crawling through the tunnel in this house, and I'm like, oh, she found a tunnel out. I'm like, perfect. And then she punches like the end of it, and meanwhile, the creepy elongated thing is like chasing her through the tunnel, which is equally as terrifying. You don't see it, but you hear the sumbitch behind her, and you're just like, okay, she's escaping, awesome. No, she punches it, and she ends up in another part of the house, and Lane is there, and I'm like, what the hell? And then she just stabs him, and I'm like, good for her.
So,
bye, Lane.
So her crawling through that hole, though, man. So it's so tight. It's small.
I'm like, she's gonna die in this hole. She can't get through. It's gonna grab her. I'm just waiting for her to get yeeted back into the room, like just pulled back in there, right? It's like it's creepy.
It's one of those things where it's like I'm holding my breath the whole time watching it. I'm like, oh my god, there's water dripping on her, all this other shit.
I'm getting stuck. There's no way I'm getting through that.
Fun fact about this scene: this was an actual 50-foot hole she had to crawl through.
Yeah, and there was like a person coming up behind her and a person blocking in front of her.
Yeah, so one of the camera guys had a panic attack and had to get out, and had to be replaced with a different camera guy who can handle being in there.
And rightfully so, man. Like I'm not prone to panic attacks, but like I would not want to be in there.
Yeah, no way. Fuck that.
No fucking way.
But so like Anthony said, she crawls out, she busts out the other end before the thing like gets to her, and Lane's there, and they get in kind of a scuffle, and she picks up this thing and just stabs him into the neck.
Yeah, she does.
I think she hears.
Yeah, the tall creepy thing is coming up through the tunnel.
Yeah.
It starts chasing her through the house.
Yeah.
And then she runs up to the attic.
Yeah. So this whole like last 20 minutes of the movie is just...
It's confusing as fuck.
It's confusing as fuck, but it is insane.
It's amazing, but it's confusing because you're still trying to figure out what's going on.
Yeah. So she's being chased in this house, and she's using Lane's camera because it's got the light on it and everything. So you're getting from the point of view from her Bluetooth earpiece, and then his camera. So you get these two different kind of found footage looks. Anyway, she's running through. She's being chased by this thing. She gets upstairs to the attic, where she finds James facing a corner, and he grabs her.
But even before that, let's point out what the big thing is here, though, with this camcorder.
Oh fuck, that's right. Okay.
This is a big thing that leads to a lot of the confusion of what happens and what is going on with this thing.
So she's running so Lisa gets from downstairs. She's running through the house with this camera. And you start to realize, you're like, why does this look so familiar? This looks so fucking familiar. And she runs up the stairs, and the camera glosses over a mirror for a second, and then she continues to run. That's at that moment where you realize the tape that James was watching at the beginning of the movie was what was happening right now in the movie.
Yeah.
So
it is a fucking paradox that screws with reality, because the footage is of her and not Heather.
Yeah.
But it looks so much like the first footage, you'd be like, oh shit.
Yeah.
Because it looks exactly like both. And oh my god, it's amazing.
When that happened, when I saw this, I was like, what the fuck is happening? And it's one thing I love about this movie is like where it plays with the time, which they don't touch on that in the first movie, but you can easily throw it in with them, like losing track of where they're at, what day it is. Once you're in the woods, you can't get out.
I've read some stuff that say that the house, they don't go to the house now. They go to the house when Heather actually is there, and that's why they're seeing the lights and sounds and stuff like that.
Yeah. So like
they actually were there. They're just not meeting up with them at the right time.
Yeah, I think when they're up, when they're downstairs, they're upstairs. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah. And that's why he hears Heather and sees the lights so much. And I'm like, that's awesome. That's terrifying.
And also this house is also like a time warp thing, because it was burnt down like 50 years before. So that house didn't even really exist. So
when that house shows up, you're screwed.
Yeah. Basically. Anyway, so after she runs upstairs and you have the realization of like, holy shit, this is what they were watching at the beginning of the movie. She gets upstairs to the attic and she sees James facing the wall, and he's telling her,
Yeah,
he's like,
they barricade the door, and then there's this weird, like, shiny-ass bright light from outside.
which there's another theory that is time passing, and that's actually the sun coming in. Like, it's daylight passing by really fast.
Yeah. I was just like, is that aliens?
Yeah.
Because that was for my brief moment when that came. I was like, oh god, they're doing aliens. And then no, it didn't happen. I was like, okay. Yeah. I like the theory that, like, that's how quick light is, because she's fucking with time.
Yeah, she's just making time go by so fast. But, so they're in there, and all of a sudden, like, the thing, creature, her, whatever it is, just busts through the fucking door. And again, at this point, you still haven't really seen it other than the quick glimpses.
He pulls a Kool-Aid Man in the scariest way possible.
So James pulls Lisa. It's like, we got to stand in the corner. Don't look at her. Whatever you do, don't look at her. That's how she, that's how she picks her sacrifices or whatever.
Exactly. Remembering what the guy had said about the kids in the corner, right?
Yeah.
They can't be killed if they're basically looking at the corner because he doesn't want them to see. Adding into this weird ambiance of, like, is there a Blair Witch? Which, there is. But also, is it just Russ killing them all at different points in time, right?
Yeah.
Or was Russ just technically the Blair Witch? It's a lot of creepiness.
I think he was just kind of like the middleman to get them there.
Kind of like Lane, because that's what Lane is in this movie, right?
Yeah, and which everyone, like, was theorized about Heather in the first one. The witch lured her there, with the others. Anyway, so James is like, Lisa, we need to face the wall. This is how she gets her sacrifices, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, don't look behind you. And then he's just like, James starts talking to himself. Kind of like, he's like, Heather? Lisa realizes James is hearing voices and he's talking to his sister, but you don't hear the voices. No. So the witch is just fucking with him, like making him hear voices so he'll turn around. He's like, Heather, is that you? And she's like, James, don't turn around. And he turns around and gets grabbed by the bitch.
I'm just like, oh my god, you dumbass. How did you fall for that? Like, come on.
And then, anyway, so she's standing there freaking out, not knowing what to do, and she hears the thing behind her. So she picks up, she's I think mumbling to herself something like, if you don't look at the creature, if you don't look at it directly, you're fine. So she picks up the camera, and you're seeing. She's got the camera, Lane's camera.
You're watching the back of her head, but watching the camera lens, like the camera lens video through the camcorder.
Yeah, so
camcorder. Right.
You're seeing it from her point of view with the Bluetooth headset, while she's using the viewfinder, like the LCD screen from the other camera to see behind her. So she's like walking backwards, so she doesn't.
Really smart, by the way. Like, seeing where it is, seeing what's behind you, and then not looking directly at the thing. Smart. Really smart.
Bro.
For about 3 seconds.
Bro, that when I was watching this for the first time, this whole scene was just so fucking intense. And I was like, this is amazing. Like,
because for a second there, you believe they're gonna live.
No, I didn't know what the fuck was gonna happen. I was just like,
I honestly thought she was gonna get out. I knew James was fucked because he's an idiot. Yeah. But her, I was like, she's smart.
I thought this whole scene, this whole like the last 20 minutes of the movie was just perfect in my opinion. But so she's walking, and you get a glimpse of this thing, and holy fuck,
it's terrifying.
It is, and you can see it's elongated. Which, again, what did Lane saying earlier? Like, someone was tied to a tree with weights on their arms, so you could technically say that this is that thing. Like, this is that person. Yeah. She's not technically the witch, but she's, that's why she's got the long arms and legs. But anyway, as she's walking, she's trying to get away. She's freaking out. You hear James's voice, and he's like, I'm so sorry, Lisa. And then I guess she forgets, and she thinks she's
so
still alive.
Stupid. She turns around. I was like, no!
She's in a panic.
I get it, but I was just like, you saw him disappear!
And you just hear James' voice say, I'm so sorry, Lisa. And she turns around, and she just gets knocked the fuck out. The camera drops. You still hear the weird... I think you hear the weird monster sound, and then it just ends, and all you hear is the water dripping and the weird electronic sound of the camera, and it just sits there.
and it whirls out. Like, it doesn't just turn off. It does, like, every motion like it just is dying slow death. And then, it cuts out.
And then, then it cuts to black, and then that's the movie.
Yeah.
When I went and saw this with a buddy of mine that I used to work with, and when this movie ended, I was like, holy fuck. That was amazing. Like, just the...
Because, yeah. It's so good. It's so confusing. It's so chaotic. It's so good. Like, the atmosphere, the sounds, just like, them walking, the house creaking, and, like, Lane freaking out, and just, like, always trying to figure out what the hell's going on. It's raining outside. And then there's some moments of quiet, which add to the terrifyingness. And then, this final scene where, like, she's trying to walk out, and, like, just, you're like, maybe she'll make it. Like... You don't know. Maybe this is the one where it's like someone finally figured out how to get away from this. They were paying attention enough. And then you're like, nah, she dead. She out.
Yeah, it makes you feel like you're there. Like, it's done...
But then you're just like, what happened? Like...
It's done very, very well. But yeah, that's the movie. That's how it ends. Basically, the witch controls time.
The witch really, really like sending that elongated thing to just knock out people and drag them through the forest. Like, I just, like, she's pushing people out of trees. She's dragging them. That thing's just knocking shit down. I want someone to make footage of, like, this giant elongated thing tying these tiny stick figures. Because, like, can you imagine? You imagine they woke up in the middle of the night. And there's just, like, 7 foot tall with, like, 3 foot arms and legs. And he's just sitting beside the tent trying to tie these stick figures together. I honestly think that would be more terrifying than hearing noises in the woods.
So he's just like, shh, we gotta do this quietly.
Yeah. And he just looks at them and he's just like, shh. And you'd be like, all right, bro, and just go back in your tent. Like, zip it back up. Because, like, what would be more terrifying? Picture this. You're in the woods at night. You're hearing noises. It's scary. You're like, I don't want to go look. You go out there and you don't hear anything, right? Now, picture this. You're hearing noises. Shit goes on. You open your tent, and there's this 7 foot tall, white, elongated thing. Like, just using his little tiny hands
just
to make
meticulously just
and then piling rocks.
Hey, like, can you come here? Can I use your thumb real fast? Oh, thanks.
He's like, put your thumb right there, and you're like, okay.
I'll save you for last.
This is like, what are you gonna do? Tell him no? Like,
oh my god, ridiculous.
Just so dumb, but I love it. It's so funny.
All right, so that was the movie. Hopefully you kept up with us. Hopefully we weren't too confusing, which I'm sure we were. I am going to get better at this. I think next time I'm going to type up my own thing because the thing we were reading off of left a lot of stuff out, and it confused some stuff. But
it was good, but it also just like left out so many subtle things that thank God I watched this like a week ago and remembered.
Yeah, I watched this like 2 days ago, and my brain clearly just garbage.
My runs off coffee, so you're okay.
Let's get into to like what we thought about the movie and our how we felt about it. I'm really interested to hear what you thought about it, man.
So like, I had seen the original Blair Witch, like I said when we first watched it. I hadn't watched it in years, so it was cool to watch that again. And like, I watched Book of Shadows, which is just straight up a garbage fire of a movie because it barely has anything to do with this movie. And then I remembered the whole like thing behind this of like the woods, and like it was coming out soon, and like no one had seen it and they talked about it, and then they were like, oh, it's a Blair Witch sequel and it's really good. And I was like, okay, cool. And then never thought about it again. Like, it was always one of those things where you're like, the Blair Witch is cool, there's like a sequel, and then I never got around to watching this. And then when we watched the first one, you're like, oh, have you seen that sequel one? And I was like, no, I haven't. So you were like, let's watch these and do it. And I was like, all right, cool, I'm down. So I watched this one, and I was just like, it is so good. Like, I think I said this before, like, found footage movies to me have to be really good or I'm not going to watch them. Like the 17 paranormal activities movies, I've seen like one and I was done. Like, I don't need that many. So, but watching this,
I enjoy those, but that's just me.
I like a few of them, and they're not bad. But like this does what I love about sequels. It adds to the lore and updates it, and updates the overall presentation while still honoring what came before it. And that's what I love about this movie. This movie, like, is very simplistic with a plot of just talking about the first one without rehashing the entire movie, and it's different. And you could tell the director and the writer who do the VHS franchise, like, they understood this movie and the franchise and what it's supposed to be, and didn't, like, treat fans like idiots with a sequel. They was just like, we're adding to the lore, we're making it bigger to extent, and we're just updating it. And it was great, and I loved it. I would highly recommend anybody watch this movie if they really like the first one, especially if the sequel left a bad taste in your mouth. Because Book of Shadows is just awful.
This is the true sequel. Maybe we might watch the Book of Shadows and review it one day.
Oh, I'm down to shit all over the Book of Shadows. Let's do it. But yeah,
I have
Book
my
of Shadows,
thoughts on that one as well.
Yeah, Book of Shadows to me is like Hollywood's like, oh, we have a popular franchise, let's drown it.
Yep.
And this is just great. I absolutely love this movie. I was confused at the end. I didn't know what was going on, and that's what it wants. And it wants you to get these little breadcrumbs of information and pay attention. And again, like I said with the first one, you have to watch this movie. This isn't I'm going to throw on in the background, play on my phone, do whatever, I'm cooking dinner type of movie. This is, you got to sit down, pay attention, listen to the atmosphere, what's going on, and I loved it. I loved all of it. I would highly recommend it.
That's awesome. That makes me really happy to hear, man, because I wasn't sure how you're going to feel about it. I wasn't sure if you were going to be like, yeah, it was all right.
Yeah, no, I was great.
Awesome. Yeah, man, I again, as I've stated, I'm probably going to state it 1,000 times. I love these kind of movies. I love found footage stuff. So when I heard this one was announced, I was like, holy fucking shit, there's a new Blair Witch. I need to see this movie. I remember watching the trailer and I'm like, this looks fucking dope. So me and a buddy of mine like I mentioned earlier, we went and saw it, and I love it. I love almost everything about the movie. I do have my little things that little complaints, but things that I guess don't really take away from the movie. It's just stuff that kind of took me out of it, but I'll get to those in a minute. Overall, I enjoyed it. I like the stuff that they added to the lore. I like that. I love the time warp shit, which I want to say no spoilers or anything because I haven't beat it yet, but I know you haven't. But the Blair Witch game, I think, delves into like time warping and stuff. No, I really enjoy this movie. I recommend it to anybody, especially if you like the first one. If you haven't seen the first one, watch the first one, then watch this one. But as with all of these kind of movies, when you go and watch it, take yourself out of reality and, put yourself in this situation. Watch it as if it is something real that you're watching, rather than this is a movie that's supposed to be real, because you won't enjoy it if that's how you watch things.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Now, like you had mentioned earlier, originally when this movie was announced, it was just called The Woods. Wasn't connected to the Blair Witch. No one knew anything what it was about. They just knew it was a found footage movie called The Woods. And I feel like because I hadn't heard anything about that. Like, it was off my radar. And I feel like if I would have heard about it, I'm like, oh, what is this? Some kind of like predecessor to Blair Witch or something? Regardless, I would have been stoked. But the marketing, what they kind of did for this was kind of cool, because it's like, how do you get away with this in 2016? Internet. Mm-hmm. Everyone knows everything. You have access to everything. You can't really lie about, people missing,
Yeah.
So it was announced at San Diego Comic-Con that year, I think. And people, I don't know if it was like a free screening or if you had to pay to go see it. But in one of the halls, they showed the movie, and it was at the movie theater. Anyway, people who went to see it, the walls were littered with the movie posters, says The Woods, the giant cutouts that says The Woods, and everything. Everybody went in and watched it. And by the end of it, you find out, it's the fucking Blair Witch, You're like, holy shit. And everyone's, I'm assuming people were excited about it. But when everyone left the theater, they switched all the posters out in the movie theater to say the Blair Witch. So you go in seeing the woods, you leave, and everything switched to the Blair Witch. I'm like, that's pretty dope. That's some pretty dope marketing.
Agree.
And at the same time, they updated the website, all the social medias to say Blair Witch instead of the woods. And I just think that kind of stuff is really cool. And the fact they were able to keep it under wraps for so long, is dope. Because, these days everything gets spoiled super easily.
Exactly. Like, you gotta play hide from the spoilers, basically.
Exactly. To get to the stuff that took me out of it was the blue, like, because earlier you were saying you liked how the cameras looked more HD.
Yeah.
And how they, the quality was better. I prefer the lower quality, which is why I liked towards the end of the movie when we got all the footage with, like, Lane's camera. Like, I love that
Lane
kind of
just
shit.
had a basic ass camera.
Yeah, he had like your
the
little mini DV camera that looks super
Yeah.
old. While watching it just threw me in watching the movie because those Bluetooth earpiece cameras, I know they don't look that good.
No, they don't.
I know they don't
might.
look that
They
good.
might now, but like back then, there's no way they look.
Even then, in 2016, I mean, even now, like I don't think that they're that good. Basically, those cameras were like DSLRs hooked to like headgear. So
yeah, because now it's basically Google Glass, right? like
no, they're just like the big bulky like cameras that you use like for photography. It was stuff like that mounted onto like a helmet.
No, but that's what I mean. Like the camera basically that they were going for in the movie would have been like the equivalent of like Google Glass, like not great.
Yeah, that's what they should have gone for, but it.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was too clean for me up until we got to the other stuff. And the other thing, while the jump scares and stuff in the movie were really good, I kind of got annoyed by them because I felt like they heavily relied on it a little too much.
Yeah. I can understand that. I think the pacing of the first one was a little bit better. And I think it's because you had to like build a lot of atmosphere in that first one.
Yeah, and
whereas this one, you're kind of like people know what's up, so they kind of have to like, well, what can we do?
This one just felt scripted.
Just upped it.
The first one wasn't scripted. Like, I mean, they had like kind of things to kind of touch upon, but for the most part,
yeah, because the first one they just dropped them there. They gave them like a vague outline every day, and they kind of just were like, do whatever you want. Yeah, this one definitely was like. Your actors, you got lines and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And they reacted how actors would react based on like lines in a movie.
Yeah. And that's the part to me that kind of that took me out of it. But again, it's one of those things you just try to ignore it, get through it. And it's a good movie. I'm not saying, it's bad, but these are just my small little complaints. I feel like it could have been a little more raw, and even if they wouldn't have done a full length, I feel like throwing it out there as a short film saying here's some footage that was found out in those woods and it's just like another group of people like use like the last like 45 minutes to 30 minutes of the movie 30 to 45 minutes of the movie and say this was just found footage, like, you know what I mean, like have like maybe like a slight backstory but not like a full hour and a half. Just have that ending shit would have been intense as fuck.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Just on its own. But, I mean, I'm cool. We got another Blair Witch movie. I loved it. Yeah. I'm glad you liked it.
No, I did, yeah. It was fucking great. I loved it.
I believe Curly, our buddy Curly, really liked it. My buddy Nick, who I went and saw it with, enjoyed it. He actually... So, when we left the theater, we were both kind of spooked, Like, I came home to where I live. I live in, like, a subdivision and shit. So, there's life around, But it was still spooky driving home.
Yeah.
This man lives out in the middle of nowhere. So when he's driving home, there are no street lights. He has to drive down a really long road in the dark to get to his house.
I'm at a Motel 6 tonight. No.
And when he got home, his wife didn't leave the porch light on for him. So he's outside fumbling trying to get to his house. He hears like weird noises in the woods and shit. He's just
oh my
freaking
god,
out.
no.
He
no.
messages me when he gets inside all this, and I'm dying. I'm laughing so hard. I'm like,
oh my god. No, thank you. I would have been terrified. Thank you.
Yeah, since I watched this movie the other night, though, I've been pretty spooked. Kind of like I've been a little more jumpy than usual, which is kind of cool, you know, because in a way, you know, spooky season is upon us. It officially starts tomorrow, the 22nd. But yeah, again, reiterate, I love this movie. I like what they did. One theory that I wanted to touch upon that I saw was that we kind of mentioned it in it where they're in a time loop where when they're in the house, it's possible that they're there at the same time as his sister.
Yeah,
because you know, I think that is who they see running around upstairs with the camera.
It's gotta be, because it's built so much like that it feels that way. And like he's about to go downstairs where like that's where like I think it's James at the end of the movie where she finds him and
Mike.
pulls him, and then it's Mike. Okay, and then she like gets yanked or whatever. I honestly think because they went upstairs, the shit downstairs, that's what was happening.
Yeah, well, because at one point in the movie, Heather goes upstairs, and then she hears Mike downstairs screaming, and she's like, Mike, and then she runs downstairs. So I want to say that is who he sees up there, which is I love shit like this where you just kind of
because like you figure at this point, like when she's upstairs, James is locked up there in one of the rooms. Because he barricaded himself in there, and the witch disappeared, and that's when she would have went after Heather and Mike. And at that point, Lane is in another part of the house, getting stabbed by Lisa.
Yeah.
So the Blair Witch went after Heather and Mike, and the creepy ass long dude went after the other two.
Yeah.
And then they just decided to hang out afterwards together, the Blair Witch and creepy elongated guy.
The Slender Witch.
Yeah. God, that thing is creepy.
One of the theories I saw, I was looking at something earlier, and I saw someone say that that the new group, the group from this movie, the noises that they hear out in the woods is Heather, Josh, and Mike. That, like, they hear them running around the woods and, you know, like, everything that they're hearing, the crazy weird sounds, it's them in the woods running in their timeline.
Yeah. Which would make sense if all of this stuff, if the witch, as soon as you cross that line at night, that is where you are.
Yeah, you're within that weird time paradox, time loop thing.
Yeah.
And she's got, I don't know. There's so many things going on. I still need to beat the game. I saw a possible spoiler for the end of the game earlier, which I wish I wouldn't have seen. But
I haven't seen any of that, and I'm mad at the game right now because I've got lost and dying. But yeah,
I'm planning on hopefully streaming that this month. My disc drive on my PS4 went out, and I can't play it. But I think it's on Game Pass. I'm gonna go steal my kid's Xbox and stream it that way.
Game Pass because that's where I was playing it.
Dope. I'll have to do that then. But yeah, I definitely recommend this movie to anyone.
I do as well.
Huh?
I do as well.
Nice. But yeah, so that's this episode. It's a bit chaotic. I need to structure this better. I need to start doing these more often so I can get used to doing them. The next one will not be a year from now. I am hoping for at least within the next week or two to have it out. It will not be another year. I think it's going to be Aliens though with my buddy Ryan, so we can like kind of wrap that up with doing the first episode that I did with him with the Alien. But I'll come back we'll probably do Scream with Anthony, or I might find a different movie. I'm not really sure what I want to do since with the spooky season coming up. But we'll figure something out. Yeah, thanks for listening. If you made it this far, if you like what you hear, like this video on YouTube. Hopefully I can get these on Spotify. I'm gonna look into doing that. But yeah, subscribe, comment, let me know what you think. Let me know if you got any questions, if you have your own theories, or if there's something you want me to watch and review, or if there's things you think I could change to make this podcast better. Let me know. That's it for this episode of Horror Squid. Thanks for hanging out. thank you, Anthony, for doing this with me again and being so patient for the last year.
Thanks for having me, man. Appreciate it.
All right, man. No problem. Anytime. All right. You guys have a good night and stay spooky.